I used to believe choices were mine to make, that every step I took was guided by my will, not by the pressure of others, not by the invisible threads of destiny. But the night I signed that contract, I learned how quickly a life can shift, how fragile freedom truly is. The ink hadn't even dried when I felt the weight of it settle on my chest. A signature should have been nothing more than a name written in black on white. Yet it felt like blood-staining stone, permanent, binding, and across the long oak table sat the man who now held my future alpha Kale's presence. Filled the council chamber, the way thunder fills the sky before a storm. Golden eyes, steady as firelight, never wavered from mine. He didn't smile. He didn't soften. He was all edges, all command. And though I tried to keep my face calm, my heart betrayed me with every uneven beat. I told myself this was duty, that I wasn't here to feel. I wasn't here to want. My clan was fractured, vulnerable. The rival packs circled like wolves around a wounded deer. My father, our former alpha, was gone, leaving only debts and broken promises. Without a powerful ally, our people wouldn't last another season. That's what I repeated to myself, over and over, as Kale slid the parchment back toward me, his gaze never leaving mine. "It's done," he said, voice low, final. The contract sealed our fates. I would be his Luna, not by love, but by law. The union was meant to heal wounds, to unite strength. At least, that was the story told to the pack. But sitting across from him, I couldn't help but feel there was more written between those lines. Something older, darker, something no human-made contract could bind. Because when Kale's eyes locked with mine, it wasn't politics I felt. It was recognition. And it terrified me. The pack house was cold that night, its stone walls swallowing the last of summer's warmth. I lay awake in the guest chamber they'd given me, listening to the silence. Every creak of wood, every gust of wind through the shutters felt alive, like the house itself was watching. And beneath it all, there was his presence. Even through the walls, I could sense him. The alpha. My alpha now. His energy moved like a storm under the horizon, magnetic, impossible to ignore. I told myself to stay calm, that this was just politics, just survival. But when I closed my eyes, I saw his face, those eyes that seemed to burn with both warning and promise. That was the first night. I dreamed of him. Days blurred together, filled with council meetings and rehearsed words of alliance. But the nights were harder. Kale's gaze followed me even when he said nothing, especially when he said nothing. He didn't need words to command a room. He didn't need them to command my attention either. One evening, as I walked the edge of the training grounds, I felt it again, the pull. The air grew heavy, the hairs on my arms rising as though the world itself had shifted. And then, from the shadows, he stepped forward. "You're restless," he said simply. As though reading my very soul, I tried to steady my breath. "I'm adjusting." Lips curved slightly, though it wasn't a smile. More like he knew something I didn't. "You signed your name," he murmured. "But your heart, it isn't mine yet." The words struck deeper than they should have. I wanted to deny them, to laugh, to walk away. But I couldn't because he was right. My heart wasn't his, but it was no longer mine either. It was caught in something I didn't understand. That night I returned to my room with his words echoing in my mind. My hand brushed the parchment hidden in my desk drawer, the contract that had changed everything. But the truth was dawning on me, chilling and undeniable. It wasn't the paper binding me to Kale. It was something far older, something I couldn't run from, and though I tried to push it away, deep down I knew. Destiny had already chosen. I didn't know it then, but danger was already circling. The rival alpha, Darius, had seen my union with Kale not as peace, but as provocation. And in the darkness beyond the pack house walls, his men waited. All I knew was this: my life was no longer my own. My name was signed, my fate sealed, and my heart. It was beginning to betray me in ways that ink never could. And destiny, cruel and relentless, was only just beginning its game. The days after the signing stretched like taut strings. Every moment wound tighter with unspoken tension. I tried to keep my focus on duty, on the fragile peace our union was meant to symbolize. But Cale's presence made that impossible. He didn't hover. He didn't need to. His energy filled every corner of the pack house, seeping into me like heat through cold stone. When he entered a room, heads bowed instinctively. Even I had to fight the urge to lower my gaze, though not from fear. No, it was something else, something far more dangerous. It was the way his eyes lingered just a fraction longer than necessary, as though he was waiting for me to betray my thoughts. It was the way silence grew heavier when he stood near, like the air itself held its breath. I had promised myself not to feel. But promises made in the light of reason dissolve quickly in the fire of something older. Wilder. One evening, I found myself on the balcony overlooking the forest. The moon was rising, pale and distant, its glow touching the treetops with silver. I had come to clear my thoughts, to breathe without the weight of duty pressing against my ribs. But I wasn't alone. Cale stepped into the moonlight beside me, his movements soundless despite his size. His gaze followed the tree line, watchful, alert. For a long time, he said nothing, and I wondered if he would leave as quietly as he came. But then his voice cut through the night, low and steady. "Do you hear it?" I frowned, listening. All I caught was the rustle of leaves and the distant cry of an owl. Hear what? His jaw tightened. The forest. It changes when danger draws near. A chill ran down my spine. His words weren't casual, they were a warning. I tried to mask my unease. But Cale's eyes shifted toward me, golden in the moonlight, sharper than any blade. "Your clan signed you over for peace. But peace never lasts. Darius will come." The name struck me like a cold wind. Alpha Darius, the rival who had coveted our land for years, who had whispered threats and made promises of ruin. I had known he would not stay silent. But hearing Cale speak it aloud made the fear real, and when he does, Cale added softly, "You must stay where I can protect you." His words should have angered me, should have made me feel like a possession. Instead, they tangled with something else inside me, a strange, unwelcome comfort. I turned to him, forcing strength into my voice. "I didn't sign that contract to hide behind you. I signed it to save my people. Don't mistake me for someone who will cower." For the first time since I had met him, Cale's expression shifted. A flicker of something approval, maybe even admiration, passed across his face. His lips curved, not in mockery, but in something far rarer. "You have fire," he said. "Good, you'll need it." The following days grew darker. Patrols doubled. Whispers spread through the pack like smoke before a blaze. Each time Cale left the house, I felt the absence like a stone pressing against my chest. Though I told myself it was only nerves, only fear of attack. But at night, when the world fell still, I couldn't deny it anymore. My thoughts circled back to Himfa, why his hand brushed mine when passing me a document. The way his gaze softened, just barely, when I challenged him in council. I had come here to fulfill a contract, but I was being pulled into something deeper, something that had no written terms, and it scared me more than Darius's threats ever could. Then came the night of the fire. I woke to the smell of smoke, sharp and bitter in the air. The halls were alive with shouts, the pounding of boots on stone. I ran to the window and saw it flames licking the edge of the forest, too deliberate to be chance. An attack before I could move. Cale was there, throwing open my door, his face grim, his shirt streaked with ash. "Stay behind me," he ordered. But before I could reply, a crash shattered the corridor window. An arrow, its tip blackened with poison, struck the wall inches from me. I froze, breath caught in my throat. Cale moved faster than thought, pulling me close, his body a shield against the danger. His growl rumbled through me, primal, fierce. For a heartbeat, I felt the full force of what he was, not just a man, not just an alpha, but the wolf beneath. The fire roared louder outside, the enemy closing in. Yet all I could hear was the pounding of his heart against mine. the unspoken promise in the way he held me. Duty had brought me here, but destiny was revealing its hand, piece by piece, and I knew. As his eyes met mine in the glow of firelight, that whatever storm was coming, my heart was already caught in it. The fire was extinguished by dawn, but the smoke clung to the air like a curse. Blackened earth stretched at the edge of the forest, a scar left behind by Darius's men. No lives had been lost, but the message was clear: he wanted war. And he wanted me caught in the middle of it. I should have been terrified. I was, but beneath the fear another truth burned hotter. Cale had shielded me with his life. He hadn't hesitated. He had thrown himself into danger as if protecting me was instinct, not obligation. And that terrified me more than the arrows, because each time he looked at me now, felt something unravel inside me, something no contract had the power to command. The council gathered that morning in the great hall, tension thick as iron chains. Elder voices rose in arguments, some demanding retaliation, others pleading for caution. Cale stood at the head of the table, silent until the noise became unbearable. "Enough," he growled, his voice cutting through the clamor like thunder. The room fell still. He turned his gaze toward me, and the weight of it pinned me in place. "This was not an accident," he said. "It was a warning. Darius wants to break her spirit before he breaks our defenses." The words made my stomach twist. He hadn't just set the forest aflame, he had aimed the arrow at me. I was the target. A councilman cleared his throat nervously. "Perhaps the bond between our Alpha and his new Luna is not strong enough to—" The man's words cut off in a sharp choke. Cale's eyes blazed golden, his wolf dangerously close to the surface. "Say another word against her, and you will regret it." The chamber trembled with silence. My heart pounded in my ears. He was defending Minot as a pawn in a political game, but as something else. Something more, and it left me breathless. Later that night, I couldn't stay inside the packhouse walls. I wandered to the edge of the grounds, the smell of burned wood still heavy in the air. The silence of the forest was wrong, it was too still, too as if holding its breath. That was when I heard it. A voice, low and sharp, slipping through the shadows. "You don't belong to him," I spun, eyes searching the darkness. A figure emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, his presence like ice sliding down my spine. Alpha Darius. His smirk was cruel, his eyes a piercing silver. "You think Cale can protect you? He can't even protect himself." I took a step back, but his voice followed, twisting like a blade. "He hasn't told you, has he? The truth about your contract?" My chest tightened. "What truth?" Darius chuckled darkly. "That you were never meant to be his. That Cale swore an oath to another long before you came. That you are nothing but a replacement." The words struck like venom. 1,000 questions tore through me, each sharper than the last. Had Cale lied? Had he kept secrets buried beneath his silence? Before I could speak, a growl split the night. Cale appeared from the shadows, fury etched into every line of his face. He moved between us, his stance protective, primal. "Leave," Cale snarled at Darius. Darius's smirk only widened. "She deserves to know who she's bound to." Then, with one last mocking glance at me, he vanished into the trees, leaving only silent sand, the poison of his words. I turned to Cale, my heart pounding, my voice raw. What did he mean? Was any of this real, or am I just a pawn in your war with him? For a long, agonizing moment, Cale said nothing. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened, but no answer came. And that silence hurt worse than any denial. Anger and pain clashed inside me. "If you can't even tell me the truth," I whispered, "then maybe Darius is right." I fled before he could stop me, the night air cold against the heat of my tears. Back in my room, I tore open the drawer where the contract lay. The parchment stared back at me, heavy with ink and secrets. My hands trembled as I read the words again and again, searching for meaning, for proof that I hadn't been blind. But the paper revealed nothing. Only Cale could. And he had chosen silence. Outside, The howl of a wolf echoed through the night long mournful. Aching was something I couldn't name. I pressed my hand to the window, torn between anger and longing, between trust and betrayal, because no matter how much I wanted to hate him, one truth gnawed at me. My heart still raced for Cale, and destiny wasn't finished with us yet. The next morning, the pack house felt heavier, as if the walls themselves had absorbed my anger from the night before. I avoided Cale at breakfast, my chest aching each time his shadow moved across the room. He spoke little, though his gaze found me again and again. Silent but relentless. I wanted to demand answers, to tear the truth from his lips. But I couldn't bear to face the possibility that Darius's words had been true, that I was nothing more than a convenient signature. Still, the silence between us grew unbearable. By evening, I couldn't take it any longer. I sought him out in the council chamber, where the maps of our lands lay scattered across the long table. Lines of strategy drawn in ink. "Tell me the truth," I demanded, my voice trembling. "Did you bind me to you, knowing I was never meant to be yours?" Cale's shoulders stiffened. For a moment, I thought he would dismiss me again, burying his answers in silence. But then he turned. And his eyes, those fierce golden eyes, were raw with something I had never seen before. "There was another," he admitted. "Years ago. A promise made when I was too young to know the weight of oaths. But she betrayed me. And this pack. That bond was severed long before you walked into my hall." My breath caught, torn between relief and pain. "Then why hide it from me?" His jaw tightened. "Because Darius would use it against us, and I would not let him poison you with doubts." His words struck deep, yet they couldn't erase the sting of his silence. I opened my mouth to reply, but the moment shattered with the slam of the doors. A scout stumbled into the chamber, blood staining his arm. "Alpha Darius's men, they've breached the northern border. They're coming for her." For me, the room spun, my pulse hammering in my ears. Cale's expression darkened, the wolf rising behind his gaze. "Lock down the house," he ordered, his voice thunder. "No one gets near her." But even as he spoke, an explosion shook the ground beneath us. The walls trembled, dust falling from the beams above. Shouts echoed through the pack house as chaos erupted outside. Cale moved instantly, pulling me close, his hand firm against my arm. "Stay with me." I tried to steady my breath, but fear clawed at me. Darius wasn't just attacking the borders anymore. He was here for me, for the bond I never asked for the contract that had tied me to Cale. We raced through the corridors, the roar of battle drawing nearer. Wolves clashed in the courtyard, snarls and cries tearing through the night. The air was thick with smoke and iron, with a sharp tang of blood. Cale fought like a storm, every movement precise and brutal. I had seen him command with words, but this was his truest form. His wolf burned beneath his skin, his strength undeniable. His fury uncontainable. And yet, even in the chaos, his focus never strayed from me. Every strike, every block, every command was angled toward my survival. We reached the northern gate just as the enemy broke through. And at their front Darius, he was even more terrifying in the open, silver eyes glowing beneath the moon. His presence like a shadow swallowing light. "This ends tonight," he snarled, his voice echoing across the battlefield. His gaze snapped to me, sharp as a blade. "You were never his to claim." Cale's growl rumbled low, primal. "She is mine by choice, by bond, by fate. You will not touch her." The clash that followed was like thunder meeting fire. Alpha against alpha, their power shaking the very earth. I could only watch frozen as Cale and Darius collided. Claws and fury igniting under the moonlight, but then amid the chaos saw it. A figure in the shadows. Bow drawn, arrow tipped with the same black poison as before. Aimed not at Cale this time. At me, I froze, too slow to move, the world narrowing to the gleam of that deadly point. No! Cale's roar ripped through the air. He lunged, shoving me aside just as the arrow flew. It struck. Not me, him. The poison sank deep into his shoulder. his body jerking from the force. His golden eyes flickered, dimming, but even then, his stance held, his body still a shield between me and death. Cale. My scream tore from my chest as he staggered, strength faltering for the first time. The battlefield seemed to pause, all sound swallowed by the weight of that single moment. Darius's smirk widened. Looks like fate chooses me after all. And as Cale collapsed to his knees, the poison burning through him, I realized the truth I had tried to deny. My heart was no longer mine. And if Cale fell tonight, I would fall with him. Cale, his name tore from my throat, raw and desperate as he dropped to one knee. The poisoned arrow jutted from his shoulder, its blackened tip gleaming in the firelight. His golden eyes flickered, dimming like a storm-racked sun. Around us, battle still raged, but I saw nothing except him, Cale, the alpha who had shielded me again and again, now faltering because of me. Darius's laughter cut through the night like a blade. Look at him, your mighty protector, brought low by his own weakness. Did you think fate would favor him forever? Something inside me snapped. Fear, doubt, anger, all of it burned away, leaving only a fierce, unshakable truth. I could not lose him. Contract or not, choice or not, Cale was mine. And I was his. I moved before I could think, grabbing a fallen shield from the ground. I stepped in front of Cale, planting myself between him and Darius. My voice trembled, but it carried. If you want him finished, you'll go through me. The silver glow of Darius's eyes narrowed. Brave words for someone bound by ink. Do you really think you can stand against me? I don't think, I said, surprising even myself. I know. Behind me, Cale's hand brushed weakly against my arm. Don't. His voice was low, strained, but the command of an alpha still threaded through it. Don't put yourself in danger. I turned just enough to meet his gaze. His strength was fading, but the fire in his eyes still burned for me. And in that instant, I knew this wasn't about contracts or oaths or politics. This was about us. About a bond that no paper could define, no rival could sever. If it means saving you, I whispered, then I will. Darius struck then, his speed a blur. His claws raked across my shield, the force driving me back, but I held my ground. My arms shook, every muscle burning, yet I didn't fall. He sneered. Pathetic. You're not his Luna, you're his weakness. And then Cale rose. With a snarl that shook the battlefield, he surged to his feet, ripping the arrow from his flesh. The poison still coursed through him, but sheer willpower, sheer fury drove him on. His wolf blazed in his eyes, golden fire against Darius's silver ice. She is not my weakness, Cale growled, voice reverberating through the night. She is my strength. The ground itself seemed to quake as the two alphas collided. Their power clashed like thunder and lightning, each strike sending shockwaves through the air. Wolves on both sides faltered, caught in the gravity of their leader's battle. I could only watch, heart hammering, as Cale fought through pain that should have brought him to his knees. His movements were slower, heavier, but every blow he struck carried something deeper than strengths, something born of love, of bond, of destiny. And then came the moment that changed everything. Darius lunged. Claws aimed for Cale's throat. Instinct screamed at me before thought could form. I hurled myself forward, shoving Cale aside. The claws meant for him slashed across my arm. Pain seared through me, white hot, but I didn't fall. I stood my ground, blood staining my sleeve, defiance blazing in my chest. Cale's roar split the night in that instant. He was no longer just a man, no longer just an alpha. He was the wolf incarnate. He launched at Darius with a fury I had never seen. Every strike fueled not by politics or pride, but by something far greater. By us, the fight ended with Cale's claws at Darius's throat. The rival alpha pinned beneath him. The battlefield stilled, every eye fixed on the victor. But Cale didn't finish him. Not yet. His gaze shifted to me, his chest heaving, golden eyes blazing with anguish and pride. You risked yourself for me, he said, voice raw. I clutched my wounded arm. The pain sharp but insignificant compared to the weight of his words, because I couldn't stand by and watch you fall. For a long, suspended moment, we stared at each other, two souls bound not by ink, but by fire and blood and choice. Then Cale released Darius, shoving him back. "Leave," he commanded, his voice a storm. "This war is over. You have no claim here on her, or on us." Darius's silver eyes burned with fury, but even he knew defeat when it stared him down. He vanished into the shadows, his men scattering with him. The field was ours, but victory felt fragile, because as Cale staggered toward me, his strength wavering, I saw the toll of the poison still burning in his veins. His hand brushed mine, warm and trembling, before his knees buckled. "Cale." I caught him as best I could, lowering him to the ground. His breathing was ragged, his skin too pale. The golden fire in his eyes flickered weakly, as if even his wolf struggled to hold on. "Don't you dare leave me," I whispered, tears burning down my cheeks. "Not now. Not after everything." His lips parted, his voice barely a whisper. "You were never a contract. You were always my fate." And then his eyes closed, his body heavy in my arms. The world blurred around Mitha, shouts of victory. The fading clash of battle, the quiet of the night reclaiming its hold. None of it mattered. All that mattered was Cale, limp against me, his fate hanging by a thread, and the terrifying question that echoed in my chest: had destiny brought me here to save him, or to lose him? His body felt too still in my arms. The battle cries had faded into silence, yet inside me, a storm still raged. I pressed my trembling hands against his chest, desperate for the steady rise and fall I needed to feel. "Cale, please," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Don't leave me. Not now. Not when I've finally found you." For a heartbeat, there was nothing, only the sound of wind moving through the broken trees. And then, faint as a whisper, I felt it. The rhythm of life, slow but unyielding, thudding beneath my palms. Relief broke from me in a sob. His golden eyes flickered open, dulled but still burning faintly, like embers refusing to die. "You're crying for me," he rasped, voice weak. "I thought I lost you. You never will." But even as I clung to those words, I knew he wasn't safe. The poison still lingered in his veins, dragging him toward the edge. Wolves around us shifted uncertainly, their loyalty caught between fear and hope. I couldn't let it end here. Memories of the night Cale and I first met surged back the moonlight. The fire in his gaze, the contract that bound me to him when I thought it was just a transaction. But now I understood. That paper was never truly what tied us. Fate had written something deeper. I bent close to him, my voice fierce. "Hold on, Cale. If destiny brought me to you, then it will not take you away." The others gathered, uncertain and restless. Someone muttered that no alpha could survive silver poisoning. Another whispered that Cale's reign was finished. But then something stirred inside me, something I hadn't felt before. A warmth, steady and ancient, pulsing through my blood. The wound on my arm still burned from where Darius had struck me, but with that pain came something else. A glow, faint but real. Like the echo of the moon herself had seeped into me. Cale saw it too. His eyes widened, even through his weakness. You carry the mark." I glanced down. Beneath the torn sleeve of my tunic, my skin shimmered faintly with silver light, radiating softly in the night. It wasn't just a wound. It was a seal. A bond. The realization hit me like a thunderclap. By risking myself in battle, by standing between two alphas, I had chosen, fully, completely. And the moon had chosen with me. I was no longer just a woman bound by contract. I was his true Luna. With trembling hands, I pressed my glowing palm against Cale's wound. A warmth rushed out of me, searing but steady, pouring into him. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the darkness in his veins receded. His breathing evened, the color returned to his skin, and the fire in his golden eyes blazed back to life. Gasps rippled through the wolves around us. They bowed their heads, one by one, till the entire field knelt before him. Cale's hand closed over mine, firm now, strong again. His voice carried even through exhaustion. This is my Luna, not chosen by contract, chosen by destiny. For the first time, I wasn't afraid to meet their gazes. I stood tall beside him, my heart steady. I belonged not because of ink on paper, but because fate itself had carved my place here. The days that followed were not easy. Darius's shadow lingered, and whispers of betrayal still haunted the pack. But Cale lived, and with him, hope lived, too. He moved among his people, scarred yet unbroken, and I at his side not as a prisoner of duty, but as his partner in truth. Sometimes, late at night when the moon hung low, Cale would reach for my hand and say, "Do you regret it? Signing that contract?" I would smile, my heart aching with everything we had endured. No, because the contract was never the real beginning. It was just the path that led me to you. And he would pull me close, eyes glowing in the moonlight, and whisper, "Then destiny chose well." Looking back, I often wonder, was it luck that I signed that paper? Or was it fate weaving its threads long before I knew the pattern? Perhaps both. All I know is this. Sometimes the choices that feel like cages are really the doors we're meant to walk through. I thought I signed away my freedom. Instead, I signed into my fate, into my heart, into Cale Dot, and though danger will come again, though shadows will always circle the light, I am no longer afraid, because I know now destiny does not chain us. It sets us free.